In this video, I will be sharing with you a requested tutorial on how to cut this cowl neck dress with flare. This dress is from Classy Chic Looks. So if this is something you like, kindly hit on the subscribe button. So let's dive right into today's video. So to start, we are going to draft out the upper part, which is a cowl neck, but we are going to start from the back pattern. And from the actual dress, it has like a cut at the underbust area of this blouse, right? So I'm going to start with drafting out the back pattern of this dress. And for the back, I went ahead to mark out the basic measurements, which is shoulder to bust, under bust, and waistline. Now we are going to cut the upper part first. So I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2, and from here I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Next, I'm going to mark out a basic neckline of 3 inches. So for my pattern at the back, I'm using 3 by 1 inch. Now if you notice, I didn't add a zipper allowance. For this particular dress, I would like to add my zipper by the side of my dress. But if you don't want to add a zipper by the side using your sewing allowance, go ahead to add like a zipper allowance in front. So after marking my shoulder slope, I'll find my chest line, which is my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, and I'm drawing out a straight line on that point. Now I'll mark what I have on the shoulder and I'll mark this on the chest line. Place my ruler and I'll connect a straight line. So after marking that, I'm going to divide my armhole into 2. That is to find the midpoint of my chest line or armhole line. Come out by ½ inch. So after I'm done marking that, I'm going to go ahead to insert my measurement, my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll connect from here all the way up. After I'm done connecting at that point, I'm just going to start inserting my actual measurement. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. Next, I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance plus ease. Now, I'll also mark my waist circumference, add my sewing allowance plus ease. So if you look at this dress, you notice that it is a bit free. So you want to like add like few inches, ½ inch before adding your sewing allowance, or 1 inch before adding your sewing allowance. So if you're making this dress, you're making it like a ready to wear dress where you just have to add like ½ inch or 1 inch to join or shape out your dress. Now I'm going to cut this out. So remember, on this pattern there is a cut at the under bust of this dress, right? You're going to cut through the under bust and rejoin it at the upper part. But I'm going to be using my back pattern to cut out my front to reduce the stress of going ahead to recut my dress again. And I'll go ahead to cut this out. So after I'm done cutting this out, we'll now transfer this pattern and use it to cut the front. So if you're cutting your own pattern, place this on your fabric and cut out the under bust area first. Then you can now go ahead to merge it up to use it to cut the front part of this pattern. Or if you don't want to use your pattern like to cut, have an under bust cut on this dress, but for this particular tutorial I'm cutting it in a way that it doesn't have any cuts. So I'll measure like about 8 inches from my shoulder and I'll place and connect this all the way up, or connect it down to that 8 inches. So you can also go ahead and readjust if you're not okay with the depth, but whatever you're measuring, make sure that is above your bust line. Now I'll cut this out. So for this pattern, just like we have on the thumbnail, there's a cut at the under bust area, but for the requested tutorial I'm meant to cut this as one piece. Now I'll place this and I'm going to connect this all the way to the upper part of the shoulder, because I'm trying to create that cowl neck effect on this dress. Now after marking this out, I'll go ahead to cut it open, and now I'm going to place it on another pattern paper and I'm going to go ahead to trace this out. After cutting it out, I'm going to go ahead to place it on another pattern paper just like I said, and now we're going to spread it out. So if you cut yours as an under bust, just as we have seen on the thumbnail, you're going to cut out the underbust area and you're just going to work on the upper part area and then join the part has the cowl neck back to the upper part. So this is me spreading it out. So depending on how you spread this out is what you're going to have. So from this point now, I'll just cut through. So after marking this, make sure that you trace out the line. So if you notice, I didn't really follow the shape there because I just want to have like a little blockish effect and not having something that is too pointy that I'll still need to trace out. So I'll just go ahead and cut this part, then I'll connect it back to my pattern this way. And if you notice, this is how I'm cutting it so that I can place it directly on my fabric because I'm cutting this as one piece. So if I'm cutting it as an underbust, I will even go ahead to slash it open more because you can just cut out the cowl neck effect and join it back to your underbust easily. Now I'll trace out the side pattern of this dress and I'll just go ahead and trace this out. So if you notice, I'm just blending out my pattern so that it will be easier for me to place this on a fabric and cut out. So I'll just go ahead and trace this out. So after tracing out the armhole area, you also want to notch the shoulder of the dress so that you know where the shoulder is. So while I was cutting this, I also forgot to mention about cutting out a facing for the upper part, which you can include on your pattern, or you can go ahead and trace out half of your pattern to cut out like a facing. The facing you should cut out should at least pass like the armhole area of your dress so that you can just turn it up. So next, here is the lower part and you want to cut out the flare. So measure what you have from your waist to the remaining part of your dress. And I'm cutting this in a 180 degrees flare and I'll just go ahead to fold it in a triangular form. Now, you're going to measure your waist circumference divided by 2 and then you're going to add your zipper allowance if you're using 1 inch or 1.5. So if you're making a ready to wear dress, just like I said, you might just add 1 inch sewing allowance because you don't really need that much. But looking at the dress we have is a bit free. So you're not going to use your actual waistline and you're going to add your zipper allowance. So after adding that up, divide whatever you have by 2. Now, go ahead to place it on a straight line this way and make a mark where you have that measurement. Measure from the tip. Measure from that tip to where you have that line. Whatever measurement you have, take it round all the way around your pattern this way and then place your curved drew, or if you're good at using a free hand, you can just go ahead to connect your lines. Now I'll just cut this out, or you can just leave it to serve as a guide. Now what you now do is measure the remaining length from your waist to the full length of your dress. Also, when you're measuring it, you want to add 1 inch for folding allowance and ½ inch for joining allowance at the upper part of your pattern. Then after taking note of that measurement, you're going to place it at the waistline and you're going to take it round your pattern. Just like you see me doing here, I'll place it and mark the length, and after marking this, you're going to go ahead to place your ruler and you're going to connect these lines together. After connecting, you can go ahead to cut this out. So I used a 180 degree flare. You can also use a 360 degree flare if you want to have a fuller effect on the flare part of your dress. So to cut a 360 degree flare, you're going to actually divide your pattern by 4. So for this pattern, since I'm attaching my zipper by the side of the dress, I'll start attaching the flare starting from the side to get to the other side where I will have my zipper.